Hello, folks. Welcome to Science Talk. I am your host, Jim Massa. I want to share with you in this video segment an extremely alarming report that was published in the journal Science Advances, and it examines the impact that drought will have on wheat. Now, I've done video segments in the past outlining how a warming planet will reduce crop yields, and of the crop that does survive to being harvested, the nutritional quality is reduced. Well, this report is really an eye-opener because wheat is a worldwide used crop, very important just about everywhere. And what we are seeing here is alarming. So basically what this report is saying is that the wheat is at extreme risk as the temperature, average temperature of the planet keeps increasing. And of course, with the increasing average temperature, the climates start to change. New research, one published in this journal, Science Advances, has warned that almost 2/3 of the world's wheat-growing areas could face severe, prolonged, and near simultaneous droughts by the century's end. That's only 80 years away. Right now, 15% of the world's wheat-producing regions are at risk of severe water scarcity at the same time. So even if the nations were able to keep the temperature to 1.5 or less of the warming, not going to happen, the chance of simultaneous water stress across continents would still double between 2030 and 2070. That's a 40-year period. Now, I just did a recent video segment where I talked about how things could be a lot worse, and that the temperature rises could be a lot greater than had been anticipated, because nothing that we've seen in the data, in the records, indicates such an increase in temperature over nearly the entire planet, at least 98% of the surface, and so synchronized at the same time. We just don't see the data for that. Even with the early Eocene and the Little Ice Age, it might have been hemispheric at best, certainly not the whole planet, as we're seeing now in the last 150, 200 years. So, not surprisingly, if the nations keep going business as usual and not address climate change, we're going to see the extremes of the temperature. We're going to see extremes in precipitation, which will follow this runaway global heating, global warming. So then, as if that were to happen, the chances of devastating failure of wheat harvest, Europe, North America, Europe, Australia, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, etc., it goes up and up. Wheat provides 1/5 of all the calories for humankind. It is the world's largest rain-fed crop. The global wheat trade, to throw in a little economic aspect here, matches the traffic in rice and in maize combined. Rice and corn, right? Combined. 10 regions account for 54% of the planet's wheat fields, 57% of the world's wheat. Let that sink in. Let me repeat that. 10 regions account for 54% of the planet's wheat field, which then provide 57% of the world's wheat. So we had scientists from Europe, the US, and China that collaborated on this report. They used computer simulations to basically model what the future global weather climate would be like. And they modeled specifically looking at water scarcity and how changes in temperature will affect that. Wheat is a successful crop partly because its water needs are relatively low, but it can't flourish without reliable rainfall before and during growth. The new simulations confirm earlier concerns that extremes of heat and devastating drought could happen in more than one continent at the same time, meaning you're increasing the risk of crop failure of wheat. This happened, we have precedents. This happened in the 19th century. We had, and then global famine followed. Forecasts already warned that with each 1 degree C rise in temperature, global wheat yield will fall by between 4% and 6.5%. Researchers have repeatedly warned that extremes of heat can slash yields and limit the vital nutrients in cereal harvest. Other teams have found that climate change may already be making this happen, and I have brought those reports to you in the past. Worse could follow as one heat wave immediately follows another. You get heat wave after heat wave. Now you get a heat wave, okay, you weather it. No, it's one after the other. And I did a video segment about the compound heat waves, talking just that situation. One heat wave following another. Now, one of the nice things about science and us scientists is that, yes, we publish our results in peer-reviewed journals to make sure that everything's on the up and up. The data collection and methodology is sound, the analyses is sound, and so forth. Doesn't mean we take what others find for granted. We like to keep checking results. The whole point when you publish a paper, especially with the methodology, is for reproducibility. In other words, another researcher should be able to pick up your paper, read through your methodology, and recreate your experiment. Well, whatever it is you did should be reproducible. That is a tenet of science. And we tend to do this. We check out the work and say, oh, okay, yeah. And you see this when we write up the intro, or especially the discussion. Our results agree with, fill in the blank of whoever did the previous work. Okay? Or our results differ, and you explain what the difference is. So this happens all the time. So in this case here, the scientists looked at evidence from not too far in the past to find that between 1985 and 2007, the impact of drought on world wheat production was twice that between 1964 and 1984. They included developing countries and low-income nations in Eastern and Southern Asia in the survey, because these are where half of the already hungry and undernourished live, and where bread is an important part of people's diets. The results indicate a severely heightened risk of high-impact extreme events under the future climate, which would likely affect all market players, ranging from direct influences on subsistence farmers to price-mediated changes in international markets, so wrote the scientists. Let's look at that last phrase, subsistence farmers to price-mediated changes in international markets. In other words, supply and demand. If the crops fail, there's going to still be a high demand for it, but there's a low supply. Guess what happens? Price is going to go jettisoning upwards. Going to go jacking through the stratosphere. And that means poor people won't be able to afford the food, and they starve. I'm going to be blunt. That's what it means. So, another study, again, collaborative international, showing that increasing temperature coupled with increased drastic changes in precipitation patterns, in this case drought, will lead to crop failure. And as with other research have shown, with the crop failure often comes time of reduced nutritional value. The same thing could happen on the other side. You could have increase in precipitation, heavy torrential rain that's too much for crops, and wash out the crop fields. A massive erosion, so that could also happen. Wheat, in this one they looked at drought on wheat, but you could have torrential rains killing the crops as well. So things are happening, and it's not for the good. So this is another study showing the dangers posed from increasing global temperatures, changes in precipitation patterns leading to drought in this case, and what it can do to important crops. Thank you for your time. Hello folks, this is Jim here with Science Talk, asking you to please subscribe to my channel and to inform others of my channel and of the work that I do. Please share to social media platforms that you use. Also, as a reminder, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I load up more videos. Finally, I ask that you support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your support.